And a very happy day, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Burgess back with Think and Grow Rich. And I know we've been a little absent, a little sporadic, spasmodic with getting new videos out. And for that, I apologize. We have welcomed a new grandbaby into our household. And the little girl was born, and then the next day she collapsed a lung. And of course, in the intensive care unit with tubes and feeding tubes and breathing apparatus and all this stuff, making sure the little kid stays alive. And she has, and she's home now, which is really the most important thing. She's home, she's very healthy, mommy's healthy, all are doing extremely well. But it did knock me off track from doing these videos and things like that. So for that, I apologize. But we're back today, and we want to talk about a chapter in the book. It's the very last principle that Napoleon Hill will talk about. And this principle, he'll even tell us we don't have to understand this principle to still get the benefit from this book. Now, when I personally saw that particular sentence in this chapter, it brought a lot of relief to me because I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. The chapter is called The Sixth Sense. He says it's the door to the temple of wisdom. The door to the temple of wisdom. Think about that. The door to the temple of wisdom. It's the 13th principle. And he talked about this principle as the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles, is what he says. Well, I can tell you that after 26 years of studying this book every day, and I read a little bit from Think and Grow Rich every day. I don't read a lot every day. Some days I'll read a paragraph. Some days I read one sentence. But I can tell you that I still haven't mastered all of the other principles. I don't believe anybody has. I don't believe Andrew Carnegie mastered the principles. I believe he mastered 2 or 3 of them, maybe 4 of them. John D. Rockefeller. Now, if you don't know these names, Rockefeller was the wealthiest man in the world, and his wealth is still continuing to generate wealth today. Now, started all in the early 1900s. But anyway, I don't believe John D. Rockefeller mastered all of the principles in this book. So, if you don't understand everything that he's talking about in this chapter, don't be discouraged. Keep an open mind as you go through it. It's also been referred to as the receiving set, through which plans, ideas, and thoughts flash into the mind. The flashes are sometimes called hunches. We receive those hunches through the sixth sense, or through the creative imagination, or if you remember my analogy, through the hose. We have the big orange bucket up there. That big orange bucket is infinite intelligence. It's full. It can never run out. Infinite intelligence. It's never ending. The hose off of the bottom of that bucket is creative imagination, or the sixth sense. And that hose attaches itself right there, right to our gut. We get that gut feeling, that intuitive idea. That's what he's talking about. Now, he says the sixth sense defies description. Excuse me, if the sixth sense defies description, why do we have a chapter in the book on it? I'm just asking a simple question, right? It can be described. But let's simplify it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep it really, really easy so we do gain an understanding, and then through the understanding, we will start to implement. But if you'll notice something in our own lives, if we don't understand something, we generally won't implement it into our lives. I know I certainly don't. You probably are the same way. It defies description. It cannot be described to a person who has not mastered the other principles of this philosophy. Well, then we can't describe it at all, can we? So he says the sixth sense defies description. Well, no, it doesn't defy description, or we wouldn't have a chapter in the book on it, right? He says it probably is the medium of contact between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence, and for this reason, it is a mixture of both the mental and the spiritual. Now, once again, let's keep the sixth sense simple. Let's remember, he says that the sixth sense and the creative imagination are the same thing. The creative imagination in the chapter on imagination, chapter 6, he says that's the connecting link between us and infinite intelligence. It's the connecting link between us and God. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm sure you would agree, we probably want a pretty good connection with our Creator. We probably want a pretty good connection with this entity or this thing called infinite intelligence, this thing called God. I don't know about anybody else, but I think we would want a good connection with that. Well, if we'll develop the sixth sense, and the development of the sixth sense, based on all of my study and all of these years, I'm going to put the book down. I got to get simple on this. It comes from learning to relax. It comes from learning to have faith, chapter 3, the second principle. That's how we really utilize it. So we talked about the big bucket, right? And then we talked about the orange hose, or the hose coming off the bottom of the orange bucket. The hose being the creative imagination, the hose being the sixth sense. Now, the sixth sense or the creative imagination can only work, it can only be in operation when we are in a state of relaxation and creativity. If we're worried about shit, if we have our mind all filled with fear and greed and lust and avarice and revenge and envy and all of these negative emotions, that's like taking this hose that goes directly to infinite intelligence and putting knots in the hose. And let's put some more kinks in it, and let's stuff some things in the hose to clog it up really, really well, so the information from infinite intelligence cannot get to us because of our own worry, doubt, fear, and anxiety. Now, when we stop and think about that, is why would we go there? Why would we engage in this thing called fear and doubt and worry? You know, I woke up this morning, as we all did, huh? Duh. And I walked outside and I heard the birds singing. Chirp here, chirp there, sing here, sing there. And one of the things that became so obvious was the birds don't have any worry. They don't have any doubt about whether or not they're going to receive their next meal. 2 days ago it was raining, and we had a pretty good rain here in the Cincinnati marketplace. And it rained all day. It was an all-dayer. And we still heard the birds chirping. And we still heard the birds singing. And we didn't hear the birds worrying about any lack of anything, whether it was a lack of shelter or a lack of a nest to have their newborn or a lack of food. We didn't hear any of that worry. But then we took our mind off of that. We came back to society, and all we heard was worry. And all we heard was fear, and all we heard was doubt. And I'd be willing to bet if we pay attention, you would realize the same thing. If you get up in the morning and you go outside and you pay attention to the birds aren't worrying about anything. They're not stressed about the day in any way, shape, or form. In other words, they have total trust in their Creator. They have total faith that whatever they need will be provided. If you open up the sixth sense, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm still learning to do this with you, we open up the sixth sense. We open up this hose. It's the direct link between us and infinite intelligence. And we'll sing in the morning, and we'll have faith like the birds do. We'll fly around doing what we want to do, not what we think we have to do. Now, sometimes we have to do certain things so we get to do what we want to do. I understand that. But ladies and gentlemen, this chapter is so simple. It can be complex. We could dive into telepathy, and we could dive into all of these things that would really create a lot of confusion. Or we can just allow it to be as simple as it is. The sixth sense is the connecting link between us and infinite intelligence, or God. And if we'll utilize these philosophies the way we've been instructed to, we can induce infinite intelligence or God to work on our behalf to bring us what we truly want out of this game we call life. Now, here's what I've learned over 26 years of studying this book. God is not going to send a lot of quarters or silver dollars or millions of dollars crawling down the road looking for my bank account. That requires intelligent action on my part. You see, infinite intelligence can only bring the answers to me, or allow the answers to flow to me, I should say. But infinite intelligence can do no more than that. Infinite intelligence is not going to go to the office for you this morning and maybe dial the phone for prospecting. It's infinite intelligence or God is not going to go fill out your reports for you. It's not going to create the PowerPoint for the presentation you may have coming up. Infinite intelligence will not do that. However, if we will learn to relax and open the hose, infinite intelligence can supply us with all of the answers that we need so we can go out and produce these things. It's really not a hard concept. It's really not a hard chapter at all to understand. It's hard if you try to read it and go word for word with what Napoleon's talking about. It becomes difficult. But the simplicity of it is, we have an orange bucket that's infinite intelligence. We have a hose off the bottom of that bucket that attaches itself right here to our gut. That hose is called the sixth sense or creative imagination. When you and I stay in a state of faith, confidence, that hose is open. When we engage in worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, any of the negative emotions, we're clogging the hose, we're putting kinks in the hose, we're tightening the hose up, we're literally just putting big knots in it and pulling them as tight as we can pull them. That's what worry and doubt does to the hose. Faith removes the knots. It opens the hose. The answers can come. That's how the Wright brothers found the answers to create the flying machine. That's how Edison discovered the answer for the incandescent light bulb. He opened the hose. He allowed the answer to come to him. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the same power if we will utilize it. So please study this chapter. Make sure you open your hose as wide as you can open it and let the energy of infinite intelligence bring you all the answers. Let it bring you the plan for the accumulation of whatever it is that you desire. Because it will do that if we will learn to open the hose. As always, I want to thank Joe. Joe, without you, we wouldn't be here, my friend. Thank you for all that you do. Joe's an absolute superstar in this material. He has accumulated millions and millions of dollars in net worth because of this material. And you can do the same thing. So Joe, thank you very much. As always, one of our strongest desires is that this day be the best day that you have ever experienced in this game we call life. Yesterday doesn't matter. It's already gone. It's history. And tomorrow isn't here. So we can't do anything about tomorrow except prepare ourselves to receive the good that we desire. But today, we can make a decision to allow this day to be the best day we've ever experienced. And I'm asking you to do that. Tonight, when you put your head on a pillow, please do so with a mind full of peace. Remember, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. And may God bless each and every one of you. Have a fabulous day today.